going to present the topic of healing our soils, exploring participatory approaches for soil health knowledge co-production in agroecological networks. We'll look into the introduction, the research objective, a bit of the concepts and the analytical framework, as well as methodologies and some case studies. Upon a handful of soil, our survival depends. Care for it and it will grow our food, our fuel, and our shelter and surround us with beauty. Abuse it and the soil will collapse and die, taking humanity with it. That's coming from the Vedas and scripture. Soils is very important. It's 95% of our food comes from the soil, and already about like 1/4 of our planet's biodiversity lives in the soil. However, 33% of our soil is degraded, and between 60 and up to 70% of our soils in Europe are degraded. And soils can also store and filter water, and they can be the basis for healthy food. They can also help combat and adapt to climate change. And it's actually a non-renewable resource. It can take up to 1,000 years to produce just 2 to 3 centimeters of soil. So that's why my research objective is to explore participatory processes for soil health knowledge co-production in agroecological networks. So soil health is the vitality of a soil in sustaining the socio-ecological functions of its enfolding lands. And the knowledge co-production can be understood as an iterative and collaborative processes involving diverse types of expertise, knowledge, and actors to produce context-specific knowledge and pathways towards a sustainable future. These approaches have several benefits, as they can enable more socially and ecologically robust knowledge for complex and emancipatory interactions that are characteristic of wicked problems, participatory and farmer-centered processes and outcomes in agroecology. At the same time, they can also pose challenges and tensions due to different perspectives, languages, norms, values, or lacking communication and trust. This is the analytical framework that I'm using that looks into the elements of knowledge co-production, and I'm applying a multiple case study approach. Looking into 3 main case studies, Rete Humus, which is an Italian social network for bioagriculture, and Nabdania, which is an earth-centric and women-centric farmer-led movement, as well as the Soil Living Labs, which is a EU soil mission to implement a mission implementation tool. Rete Humus is using participatory monitoring approach for biodiversity in organic farming and their territories called BioBlitz, and it's using the principles of citizen science involving farmers, trade organic associations, local economic operators, citizens, and researchers. And some knowledge outputs and outcomes is that Rete Humus would be able to create its guarantee for products, that is certification, and that would mean that it's an opportunity for farmers to have a voice as well at the political levels, as well as promoting a knowledge that informs better citizens about the products. And it's farmers that are also can control these processes. Navdania is also a farmer and women-led movement that aims to protect the biological and cultural diversity, reclaiming the commons, and through seed sovereignty and earth democracy. And it's implementing practical workshops and trainings on the regeneration of the soil with farmers in the context of their fields. And some knowledge outputs and outcomes are application and conservation of indigenous knowledge on the reincorporation of organic matter with practices such as vermicompost, liquid fertilizers, or closing the nutrient cycles. Finally, the soil living labs and lighthouses is a methodology that aims to apply 100 living labs and lighthouses to implement the EU soil mission. And its knowledge creation process is characterized by co-design and co-development and experimentation of innovations improving soil health and related ecosystem services, as well as adding some research on impact of innovative practices on ecosystems through a networking and knowledge exchange approach and through practical and real demonstrations. And some of the knowledge outputs and outcomes are the maps of good practices that allow for upscale of solutions, as well as connection of knowledge co-produced to the policy arena directly, as well as supporting financially the projects. And some main conclusions that I would like to highlight is that participatory soil health knowledge co-production in agroecological networks can enable emancipatory agroecologies by challenging the current power structures and cultivating autonomy, as well as knowledge co-production processes can enable dialogues of knowledge and farmer-centered processes, which are essential to address the complex challenges of healing our soils. And potential benefits and challenges in soil health knowledge co-production and strategies for overcoming them can be identified through these type of research. Thank you so much. If you had any questions, don't hesitate to ask or email.